I would be here and you would be there, I would have said, there's no way, but I can see where you would be there. But I appreciate everything you've done, which not only tonight, but everything you did back in the 70s.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. This is for the 2021 Arts Center Citizen of the Year, and whereas Gaynella McGuire has had a successful career as a working artist, and whereas Gaynella McGuire has exemplified the attributes of a lifelong learner by exploring new skills and sharing her talents with her peers through exhibits and participation in community arts events, and whereas Gaynella McGuire has served to encourage and motivate young artists and students whenever possible in a variety of settings, and whereas Gaynella McGuire has provided the leadership to establish the Louise Wilkinson Fund at the Arts Commission of Danville County. This fund annually designates grants to public high school arts programs for the purpose of developing innovative and inclusive art projects, which have provided hundreds of students an opportunity to expand their participation in the arts. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City of Danville Board of Commissioners recognizes the significance of the contributions of artists to the vitality of the community, and would like it to be known that Mrs. McGuire has been selected and recognized as the 2021 Arts Center of the Year as designated by the Arts Commission of Danville and Boyle County. And I can't say how proud I am
Thank you.
to be here presenting this to you. Mimi, you want to present that to her? I want to be cautious of.
Thank you.
Yes.
So this is the proclamation, but also each year, the past several years, we used to give a pewter cup. We thought, you know what, we're a community of artists. We can do way better than that. So Kathy York. Oh, there you are. Thank you. Thank you. Kathy York created this piece of art for the recipients.
Oh, wow.
So you could probably they will probably let you see it, but it has engraving. It's one of her unique pieces for each person. So this gaze piece.
Beautiful.
Kind of fragile, but we have bubble wrap that you can take it home in. So,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay.
Bravo.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
And if you will, I will continue on with the second proclamation of the 2021 Arts Citizen of the Year. Whereas David Walden has had a lifelong love of the arts, which began with childhood visits to art museums and an early interest in collecting art. And whereas David Walden has hosted exhibits of local art at his Perryville business and has developed an extensive collection of local art. And whereas David Walden has engaged local artists through special commissions, and whereas David Walden has been an active participant and leader in many local arts events and served on the Arts Commission Board, and whereas David Walden contributed special funding to provide numerous children in the Perryville community with art supplies and books during the summers. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City of Danville Board of Commissioners recognizes the significance of the contribution of the arts to the vitality of our community, and would like it to be known that David Walden has been selected and recognized as the 2021 Arts Citizen of the Year as designated by the Arts Commission of Danville, Boyle County. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having us, and we'll see you next year.
Certainly. And you're welcome to stay for the entertainment. Do I hear a motion to accept those?
So moved.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Commissioner Terry, second by Commissioner Cottle. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. I believe we're on item 5, and you have with you two appointments to be discussed and voted on for the cemetery. And they are Linda Warren and Valerie Crawford. Ms. Warren's term will expire on January 1 of 2025. Ms. Crawford's would expire February 1 of 2025. Chair will entertain a motion for those appointments.
I'll move for approval of both of those appointments.
Thank you, Commissioner Terry. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, ma'am. Discussion?
Good folks.
Yeah, thank you for the bios. They were very helpful.
And I believe those were your, nope?
No, these aren't mine.
Okay.
I was going to ask how many more we need, if any. 2. I've got one we can do the next time.
Okay. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Did we vote on that?
Aye.
Aye.
No, we
I
didn't.
think,
Opposed, like sign? We're good. Item 6 is a zone change recommendation on the South Danville bypass. And
Mayor, I have that agenda item for the Planning and Zoning Director who is out of town tonight.
Yes,
And
sir.
asked me to convey the record to the commission for your consideration. This is a recommendation to approve a zoning map amendment on the South Danville bypass for 56.539 acres. From, the zone change would be from agriculture to multifamily residential, the RM3 designation, multifamily residential RM4, and highway business HB. So a public hearing was held on December 8, 2021. 8 members of the commission were present and voted in favor of recommending the requested zoning map revision. And this is loosely the property that goes from Ghost Pike to behind Cattleman's in that area there to the 2 hotels that sit on the hill. And again, spanning the 56.5 acres, more or less. There is some language here that the Planning Commission found that it was in compliance with the comprehensive plan and that it conformed to the future land use map. And the proposed zoning and development conditions did create a gradual change from the existing neighborhoods and surrounding properties. And street connectivity was also considered, and the Planning Commission made an amendment here that says that the street access point to High Tower Road, and additionally 1 street access point to Ghost Pike would be allowed upon the city's requirement to set access point. The Planning Commission, it's noted here in the recommendation, noted an objection to connection to Ghost Pike. However, it was listed as a condition, and that's in your record. So continuing on, you have a statement of development conditions that are listed in your packet here. There's a list of 9 of them that the applicant provided and agreed to. And it is there. There's also a staff report that, again, finds that it's in compliance with the comprehensive plan, matches the future land use map. And also, there was an exemption from a traffic impact study, if I recall that correctly, as designated or as agreed to by the parties. The other documents are in the record, but the parties of actually the applicant was represented by counsel who is present here tonight. However, the recommendation of the Planning Commission is that you do, in fact, approve the zone change recommendation before you.
let me begin with a motion, and then we can get into discussion.
I will move for approval of the zone change recommendation.
Thank you, Commissioner Cottle. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Holland, thank you. We are in discussion. Mr. Coffey, you want to direct staff on anything here? Mr. Morgan?
Good to hear.
Any questions?
Other than just to add, this property's been master planned before, and there's been substantial movement on that property throughout the last 20 years incrementally. And the zone change is consistent with their original plans that have been reviewed publicly different times over the years.
I would just note too, again, for the commission, as a part of your packet on page 11, you will notice that there is an inclusion in your packet. This is based upon your request from prior zone changes, so you can see there's maps that are included here. So that's because we recommended they be included in the packet, so that's a good improvement. So you can see the exact area we're talking about, at least from an aerial depiction, and you can see the colors that are designated there. So which sections, obviously the highway business is the one that fronts on the 150 bypass, and then the multifamily residential sections are noted in the yellow and the red, just for if you did have any clarifications as they proceed south away from the bypass.
I'm just curious as to why a traffic study wasn't needed.
It is not, while the comprehensive plan says when one should be conducted, it says the parties don't have to have one. I can only make the determination that there's already a great deal of traffic on US 150 bypass, and that any future development would be a minor impact.
I figured that
On the
was the
overall
reason. We
traffic.
kind of already know the traffic patterns out
Yeah,
there.
we didn't really know what the result, I mean, what the purpose would be, what it would tell us that we don't already know. And there's also, with the three, there's already 3 access points created on the bypass onto the property, if you count the existing and the ones that have been somewhat developed but not fully developed in the property. And then if you add on Hightower and Ghost Pike, you have 5 access points to this area. It's in a traffic sense, it's prepared for this development.
But we know where the present exit from Cattleman's out on the bypass is historically a dangerous intersection. We had another intersection up the road, probably going to be equally as dangerous. Even at Daniel Drive, you have a stoplight. That doesn't seem to stop some people sometime. Has that been considered?
It'll be up to the state to determine if more signals need to be put in. More access points means you have less traffic concentrated at one location. So this should be an improvement from a safety standpoint, that people have options. They're not limited to one spot they're coming in and out. And also, I don't know, I haven't studied the causes of the crashes at that intersection, but you might dig in. We might dig into that a little bit more and see. I've got a couple of intersections we want to do that at, but it's definitely something we thought about when we were looking at this. Okay, what's this going to do to traffic flow in this area, and especially with the connection on the Ghost Pike, if that comes to fruition, you pull traffic off the bypass. People aren't having to. You have 2 signals then that they're able to use, and then you add in the 2 more access points off the bypass, and you've got a lot of options. And in general, may slow traffic down on the bypass a little bit. Yeah. Just that many more access points tends to slow traffic slightly. So hopefully it makes it safer.
I'm certainly for this project. I just think we need to make sure that we don't put people in harm's way on this.
Yes.
That's all I have to say about it.
Of course, it's wonderful to see multifamily residential, with that being such a big need.
Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion carries.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. And just for the benefit of council, again, who is present for the applicant, as is our tradition, a first reading of the ordinance will be prepared and on your next meeting agenda, which is January the 24th, at the same hour at 5:30. So just to make the public aware, and council, January 24th at 5:30 will be a presentation of the first reading of this zone change map amendment ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Council, thanks for joining us. Safe travels back home. Thank you. Yes, sir. Item 7 is the first reading of ordinance number 1986. This is a codification regarding the Code of Ordinances. Mr. Coffey, I'm sorry, Mr. Dexter, anything you want to address on this?
I'll let the city clerk handle this one, Mayor.
This is just our annual update to our code of ordinances that we send all ordinances passed in the last fiscal year to American Legal Publishing to update our online system and also our codes books.
Can you repeat that? I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Thank you, Ashley.
She does need to read it, though. I guess
Yes,
you
you
want
do.
a motion
Well,
first?
yes.
Motion first?
Let's have a motion and a second and then a reading.
I'll move for approval of ordinance number 1986.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, ma'am. Now, Ms. Ashley.
This is the first reading of ordinance number 1986, an ordinance enacting and adopting a supplement to the code of ordinances of the city of Danville, Kentucky.
Any discussion, any questions, comments? Seeing none, Chair will call a question. All in favor of the motion? I'm
Roll
sorry.
call.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Cottle?
Yes.
Commissioner Terry?
Yes.
Mayor Paris?
Yes.
Commissioner Holland?
Yes.
Item 8 is resolution number 2022-01-10-01. This is a surplus list. Ms. Rader, anything you want to comment on here?
These are just some items that IT has in our storage room downstairs and also some of the furniture that was left behind after the sale to the city of Jenny Rogers that we're just asking to sell on GovDeals. And then there are some cables and things like that that we'll just dispose of as trash because there are no use for them.
Okay, do I hear a motion for this resolution?
I'll move to approve resolution 2022-01-1001.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, sir. Any discussion? I'll call the question. All in favor of the resolution, say aye.
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 Opposed, like sign. That carries. Item 9 is the first reading of ordinance number 1987. This is a small revision to the EDA ordinance, and Chair will entertain a motion and a second.
I'll move for approval of the first reading of ordinance 1987.
Thank you, Commissioner Terry. Is there a second?
Second. Oh.
Commissioner Holland, it goes to you. Madam Clerk, if you'd read the ordinance, please.
Are we, I just was going to have you explain what exactly we're doing here, what the minor change was, in case we don't remember.
The minor change was we substituted another commissioner for the city manager. We recognize the city manager is going to be part of just about every discussion that relates to the Economic Development Authority. And because he is part of staff, we felt we needed to utilize another voice as representative of the public. And so that's it in a nutshell.
So we'll have a mayor, a commissioner, and a
And at-large.
citizen at-large representative.
Right.
If I may, the specific language is found on page 2, and what is struck through is the removal of the city manager in section 3 in membership and replaced with one commissioner. I was not in attendance at your last meeting in December in which you discussed that matter. However, I do think it's incumbent upon me to share a couple of items with you prior to voting on this particular issue, as it does have certain legal ramifications in doing so. One, when this was formulated and initially discussed and negotiated, it was determined by the commission at that time that the city manager should be a member with budgetary prowess as a part of the decision-making process. Mayor, you state that the city manager will certainly be involved, maybe tacitly, but probably not in the manner in which you prescribe in future scenarios going forward. Without membership, the city manager would probably not be in attendance at every meeting. Could be, but certainly not required, and certainly not with the prowess of membership. You just need to know that. I'm not saying you vote for it or against it with that, but you need to be cognizant of that, of what you're doing. And secondly, it was also discussed that one of the purposes of this membership that was discussed was to condense voting power with the elected bodies. And so in doing so, the at-large member was not determined, at least in conversations, to be a citizen. It was determined that you said at-large to be another commissioner. You just didn't want to designate who that particular person would be by office. So you said the mayor, the city manager, and an at-large member, meaning your intention, well, at least when we negotiated it, was that it would be a commissioner, not an at-large citizen. So if a future commission revises your interpretation of the language of membership, what you are doing is potentially creating a situation where you have a mayor, a city manager, a mayor, a commissioner, and an at-large member, which could be a commissioner, thus comprising a quorum of the Board of Commissioners and creating a host of legal implications, in which would make a meeting of the EDA a joint meeting of the Danville City Board of Commissioners, and subject to a host of other rules and complications that would in turn inhibit the actions that you are in, I believe, trying to assist. So it's a cautionary word of how we set things in motion with certain intentions. We phrase language in a way to coalesce agreement, and then we get to a situation now where you change your mind on some issues, which is fine, but you have to know that decisions have implications. And in this one, it's a rather significant one legally, in my opinion. So I felt, since I wasn't present at your last meeting to make those statements known, I felt it necessary to do so for clarification here. Now, your vote on the matter, I know it was I believe it was a strong vote in favor of the change. That's okay, but I think you need to know what you are doing, in that you can no longer have a mayor, a city manager, and a commissioner participate in the process with this removal. Which you're limiting yourself by taking away potentially one member of this body and staff. So you just need to know that in making this change.
Do we have a motion on this yet?
You do.
Okay. So I understand what you're saying and appreciate it. 2 points to your points. Having left a EDA meeting, which is why I'm late, and which is why Earl blew in here late, I can tell you that our city manager is going to carry a tremendous amount of information and influence to the EDA. I know the EDA looks to him for his expertise in it. Secondly, I think we're also much aware on not violating the three-person rule. We're afraid to even go to a funeral together for fear that somebody will make an issue out of it. So,
I understand the fear, or I would just say the awareness rather than fear, but what I'm saying is you're limiting future participation with this decision in the EDA. And you have relied upon the city manager to this point in the EDA because by rule, now he's a member. And so all I'm saying is, while that's your interpretation, that leaves open further disengagement in future commissions. You know, I don't look at things just within 12 months time span. And I've been here long enough to know that interpretations change based upon elections, and that's okay. That's the will of the public and different people in office. However, you need to know that the role of city manager by a decision like this is somewhat narrowed in participation in the EDA, which is intended, and furthermore, the EDA is not a job requirement of the city manager. So part of his inclusion in it was to provide continuity, which was what one of the initial goals were.
And
I understand if those things change, but it's incumbent that we realize when we make the decision that the implication is just that.
So noted, and I'm sure through your acute guidance of commissions, that if there were a commission later in the future to propose 3 members of the commission to be part of the EDA, I'm confident that you would quickly grasp that and make them aware of what they're doing at that time.
Right, but Mayor, but that's not the issue. Of course I would do that, or any council would do that. The issue is that you couldn't have 3 members of this body. By virtue of this decision, you can't have 3 voting members in the EDA. You have to realize that. As the current situation stands, you do, potentially. But, I mean, I understand you've appointed a citizen, I believe, is that correct?
That's correct.
Yes.
Well, you all understand I'm about process. I think appointments are premature prior to structure being finalized. However, if you've made that, then in fact, I think, you know, the cart is somewhat before the horse in that. This is a new baby airplane that has not taken off yet. And structure is critical. And that's going to lead not only into this conversation, but there's other conversations that have to be had about overall structure. And so rather than move fast, it's important to move properly. And I think you have to take into account the implications of these early actions, which are, as we know, once set in motion, hard to pull back.
So noted, we discussed the at-large when we passed the ordinance. So we knew we were going to have an at-large person. We just didn't know who that at-large was going to be.
Well, yeah,
we
Mr.
did.
Dexter, I think I basically said that it happened the same way that you said. That's the way I remember it, is the intention was for the at-large to be a commissioner, and it got a little muddled, and that's not what happened. So the other point that I have is I believe it puts the city manager a little bit in a conflicting position, or could put the city manager in a conflicting position by being a voting member, but also with implementation. So that was kind of my point of view, was I don't think it's a good idea to have someone voting and implementing.
Well, I don't know that
Sort
your
of.
city manager is implementing. The city manager, the EDA itself and its primary purpose and roles and authorities, it's a land development organization. The stated purpose is to purchase or develop land. So the only way that can happen is if money is put forward and budgeted for that purpose by this commission and by the fiscal court to create a fund, and where that can in turn take place. So any conflict would be the EDA itself would be the one purchasing the land, not the city of Danville. And so if the funds have been budgeted by the commission, the city manager has authority to expend funds that are budgeted. And if the money is budgeted to the EDA and there for their purpose, then what the EDA decides is what in fact happens. There's no implementation on behalf of staff, city manager or otherwise at that point. So I understand how that can feel different to you. However, in practical sense, I don't think there's a reality in which that could transpire. The other thing is, you need to know this is a joint ordinance. It's been passed. It is, so to revise this at this juncture does require 2 readings by the Boyle Fiscal Court. Now, assuming they do that, they have previously said at their last passage, we're done with this, either take it or leave it as it is. So you're rolling the dice that they will approve it. Secondly, we do have an interlocal agreement which creates resubmission to the Kentucky Attorney General for approval. So, and it's not that I'm against doing that work, it's just you need to be aware that what this quote-unquote minor change sets in motion.
Thank you. Did we have a motion and a second?
You do?
Yes. I'm still good with the mayor, commissioner, and at-large member. I think that gives us the best of both worlds.
Well, like I said, having come from an EDA meeting, you're talking about form, I'm going to talk about function. Function's going to be that Earl, in practicality, is going to be at every meeting. I mean, everybody is just dependent on his expertise in this. So,
Would that, I don't know, would that be perceived like the city has more people?
no, because I think,
Not really.
I think frankly, the judge is appreciative of Earl's depth of knowledge as well.
Yes,
Well, if we do it this way, the city manager doesn't have a vote, so, you know, it's not like we have extra vote.
Yeah, we got
And-
the same number of votes.
And this is kind of sometimes where our form of government gets a little cumbersome. And staff is here for support. And I believe that the elected officials need to be the seats that make up this entity. And staff is here for support, whether it's county staff or city staff. That staff's here for support of implementation of our bodies of boards and committees.
How
But you do
long-
realize you're putting a citizen in that role, an unelected official,
I know,
too.
and
Yeah.
like I said, I said at the last meeting, I thought, when the ordinance came back and read city manager, mayor, and at-large, I thought it was gonna read mayor, commissioner, and city manager. So I think that where that at-large got thrown in there that didn't specifically say a commissioner, that's where I took issue with, it needed to be more clear.
And it was negotiated for that language to provide flexibility. Flexibility because there could be a time in which, in our conversations, the judge thought that there may be two magistrates that are well-equipped to serve in that role. However, there also may be a point where that is not the case, likewise in this chamber. And whereas 3 members of the fiscal court do not constitute a quorum, 3 do here. And so it provided flexibility to say the county still could have, so you know, the judge and 2 magistrates, which would leave the city with a mayor, a commissioner, and it can't be, what I'm saying is you can never achieve equality with number of votes on the chamber, or I shouldn't use that because we're going to confuse that with the Chamber of Commerce, with the EDA by implementation of a first reading of this ordinance. So what I'm saying is you're creating something that can create inequality in votes going forward. You just need to be aware, because the county could have the judge and 2 magistrates, and you can never have the mayor and 2 commissioners, ever. Because it constitutes quorum. And I don't know if you were aware of that at the time you made your decision 2-3 weeks ago.
No, that's what I was going to say. I don't know where you were, where you think you were. Where were you?
Well, it was the day before Christmas Eve, and I was hosting about 20 people at my house as we canceled our meeting in December, so.
Did you all get an invitation? Mine got
did.
lost in the mail.
We could have had the meeting there.
My point is that sometimes things that seem like a minor tweak, and which I considered it at the time, and told Commissioner Terry it wasn't a hill I was willing to down. We could do it either way. It didn't really matter to me. But after listening to our attorney, I think leaving it as is probably the best idea, long term.
And the other factor here is that a name was put out there before like Mr. Dexter said, before the process was really complete. And that sort of put us in this position. And so I now don't want to ask that citizen not to serve, or I didn't want it to be perceived as a vote against someone.
Well, you could retract, you can always retract an appointment, I mean, if necessary. And I mean, my only point is, again, we say this routinely, but we have to act accordance with it. Good policy is made absent personal, actual physical individuals. So while we're talking about the qualifications of Earl, which I know are high, it's not appropriate to think about that. And it's appropriate to think about is the role of city manager, the role of mayor, the role of commissioner, as opposed to Mike Paris, Denise Terry, and Earl Coffey, who are here and going to serve passionately while the time allows them to serve, but that's not enduring. So good decisions are made absent particular people.
You made the statement a moment ago talking about inequality. This body has, of the EDA has come together, and the tenor of the cooperation, I don't think anybody around that table feels that they represent one side or the other. We're all trying to row that boat the same direction. Now, the day may come, and should that day ever come, and that inequality become abused, then you always have the option of no longer being part of a joint EDA. You can form your own EDA, and the county can do same.
But we're in the position to try to create things that are enduring. And it would be short-sighted to think that conflict will not come about at some time, which is why I'm here to help plan for that. So while we can be aspirational now, we also need to think about what it looks like if we stop singing Kumbaya at some point, which we know happens in joint agencies. I know of no joint agency we've ever created that hasn't had conflict at some time. And that's not bad, it's just reality.
Sure, that's the nature of people.
But we know that in the event of things going south, as you say could happen, what happens is the money, and what's clear based on our interlocal agreement is the money that's been invested does not leave with the partner that does in fact retract. So again, you're using taxpayer dollars, and I'm just asking the question why you create something that has the effect of creating potential inequality down the road, and thus inequality for the tax dollars that you're spending on the matter.
I was the lonely, I guess, no vote before. I think Kevin had a message of, or a note of continuity or continuity with the city manager, and that was something that struck me. I was pretty neutral, but I appreciate the new facts and nuances with this decision.
Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, Chair will call for a roll call, please.
This is the first reading of ordinance number 1987, a joint ordinance of the Board of Commissioners of the City of Danville and the Bull County Fiscal Court creating the Danville-Bull County Economic Development Authority, Inc. Commissioner Terry?
Yes.
Mayor Paris?
No.
Commissioner Holland?
No.
Commissioner Cottle?
Let me back up. I'm sorry. I misunderstood the vote. Sorry. I need to reverse my vote.
Mayor Paris?
Yes. Sorry.
Commissioner Holland?
No.
Commissioner Cottle?
No.
So we need to wait until
Mr.
Commissioner
A comes
Atkins
back.
returns?
Well, that would be up to you. I mean, when a first reading fails, it's not automatically put back on the agenda. So the reading has failed. So you would have to seek to have it back on the agenda at a future date if that was your desire.
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah, I think we
Yeah.
probably want to hear what James has to say about it. Okay. Item 9, speaking of city manager, do you have a report, sir?
About to cough. I don't have a lot. Would like Josh Morgan to give an update quickly, if he can, on a couple of the projects. I was going to do it, but we'll just let him.
So we're tentatively scheduling a workshop day for you all on February 1st to talk about parks projects. The consultant's going to come down and we're going to run through all those. We talked about doing it on the 24th meeting, but we think it may take a while. I mean, we discussed it for 2 hours Friday afternoon, Earl. So I mean, it's going to be a long discussion because there's a lot to talk about, which is a good thing. So we're going to try to do something on February 1st. And I'm also going to reach out to our streetscape consultant and see if they can do something that day as well. So we might make a full day of it, do parks in the morning and streetscape in the afternoon, if that works for you all.
So you're planning pretty much 9 to whenever?
That would probably be all day. I'd say the parks would probably be from 9 to lunch, and then we would probably take a break and then do streetscape in the afternoon. So then that sets us on a schedule to start. That'll be kind of the presentation of the final design of streetscape, close to final. And after that meeting, if everybody gives it its blessing, they'll send it off to KYTC to be reviewed for permitting, which keeps us on schedule for bidding it later in the spring and then having a construction start in June after brass band is the current timeline for that. And then we have some parks projects that we need to start this summer as well. So that's what coming out of that February 1st meeting. Everybody's good with with what we have, decided to do so far, especially the more urgent projects. We'll get those going and try to bid those out in the spring as well and start construction after the primary place would be the fairgrounds, and Jenny Rogers would be the 2 locations we're trying to get things moving more quickly on. Fairgrounds, we would wait till after the fair this summer to do anything out there, but Jenny Rogers, we need to move pretty quickly on some things there to get the building ready.
Well, I'm very excited. This has been like one of the top items the community has probably asked me about, so thank you.
Yeah, and that does include Michael Smith Park too. We're not.
Yes. Yeah.
The plans on it is equally developed, but there's less scheduling pressure on it. We have the fair, we have things,
Which I should talk about as well. I'm going to have the parks consultant they're going to be here next week at Jenny Rogers on Martin Luther King Day to take input on Michael Smith Park and Jenny Rogers, and also our consultant on the cemetery committal shelters is going to be there as well with some drawings for the Hilldale Cemetery Shelter to get input. So we're going to get, that really gets them rolling on that to start that project. And then they presented some really cool stuff just Friday for Michael Smith Park. I'm anxious to get public input on them and see what direction that goes. So we should have some more information after next week for those.
So if they're able to come on February 1st, we may see some ideas and concepts?
Oh, definitely. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
you'll see some fairly developed concepts and options at the different parks.
Okay, good.
Yeah, the Michael Smith Park is really exciting, but you really want to get some feedback before you go too much further with consultant time, with the expense of that.
Okay. And you said the feedback is on Martin Luther King Day?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Over at Jenny Rogers?
Yes, we're gonna set up the march. I think they're starting here at noon. And I think the ceremony at Jenny Rogers is at 12:45. So we're gonna be set up there after that ceremony, 1 o'clock until like 2 or 3, depending on how long people kind of stick around and chat with us. So, and we'll get something out on the website and social media about us being there available.
And then one of the other things that we're doing is we're going to try to do another survey, community survey, where we can share it publicly, be online, so that people can click and answer questions and give us some feedback that way in front of the budget process. We've met a couple times trying to conceive of just the simple questions that we could ask, nothing technical, but just raw feedback on parks or on this or that. And so we're going to be trying to coordinate that. That's ongoing. And I do have a budget report to send you. I'm trying to get some utility information still in there. It has been time consuming, but we are there, and we'll send that out in the next couple of days. Snow last week really kept us from finishing it on Friday, but we do have it, and we'll share it. through November, with some staff absences. We don't know that we'll have the December information in there until the end of the month.
Thank you.
Anything else, sir?
No, sir.
We will move into hear the public. This is the opportunity I expressed earlier for the public to take 3 minutes at the podium to talk about any subject that has not been talked about or is not to be talked about later on today. Any subject you want to address? Ms. Brown? Happy New Year, ma'am.
Happy New Year, Mayor.
Thank you.
I'm Wilma Brown. The city has launched a new website, and so I've been concerned about that for some time because communication is one of the most important things, I think, coming from the city to the citizens. So I've looked at the new website, and it has several ways to access information, which I think is great, and it has good information on it. I would say, however, that as far as committees are concerned, that is still a mess of information with very much outdated information. There's someone listed on a committee whose term ran out in 2014. And so, you know, all of those committees should be looked at by someone and everything brought up to date, because that is inaccurate information. Also on the website, it's very sterile. It needs a little bit more oomph, a little more color to it. It has a few photographs on it, but they're all of either buildings or inanimate objects. So we don't want to be the city of inanimate objects. We need to have people in those photographs. And a lot of city websites have the mayor or the city manager's pictures with a letter of some sort on the front page and on the home page. And they have other interesting pictures of various staff members helping out the community. So I think that would be a great addition. Also, there is a place on the home page to click to sign in. That's very misleading. Obviously, you don't have to sign in to get information on the website. But I don't know what the purpose of that is. The purpose of it is to set up an account, and citizens are encouraged to do that. And there is a disclaimer on that section that says, if you give us this information, we can use it any way we want. There's information on that section that says we do use cookies, which of course does mean that they're tracking how your mind is working and then using that later. So I really think that entire section needs to be taken out. There's no reason for citizens or visitors to have an account. Now, I know that probably Earl has a justification for that. I see no justification for it. So I'd like more pizzazz and that option to be taken out. But otherwise, I was glad to see the new website and glad it's been launched, and I know it was a lot of work for a lot of people. So thank you for that.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, sir. Steve, you're next.
Rick Saris, citizen of Danville, on a different note, and I apologize if I'm taking this away from commissioner comments, but since snowstorms are a rarity here in Danville, Kentucky, I want to compliment publicly Public Works for keeping up with it. I think your fellows did a great job.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Sutherland, did you raise your hand a moment ago? No, sir. Ah, thought I saw you. There you go.
He's chair.
Anyone else? Seeing none, we'll move right on into commissioner comments, if you have any.
I do, if you don't mind. I was asked to share by Magistrate Jamie Gay. He is also a member of the MLK committee for the activities next week. There will be a march, and that will assemble at City Hall at 12 o'clock. And the march will go to Jenny Rogers. And 12:45, the program begins, which will be a welcome. And the welcome is going to be done by Melinda Weathers. And there will be poem selections from Frank X. Walker Poetry Festival. Kenneth Payne will be a guest speaker. The Danville High School Choir will be there. And a guest speaker, Damian Logan. And benediction, there will be free T-shirts. Grab-and-go lunch is provided. And there's bus transportation back to City Hall if you need to get back. So hope to see everyone there Monday, the 17th at 12 o'clock. He also asked that you do a little welcome at 12 o'clock
Okay.
to get us started.
Anyone else?
Well, I was going to just mention the fact that we lost a great educator recently in Yolanda Weathers. If you didn't know her, that's too bad because she was a great lady and a terrific educator, well loved by everybody. And I think it was a testament to what kind of person she was. We were watching her services on Facebook, and there were 400 people on Facebook watching her funeral. That's just incredible.
Yeah.
So we're going to miss her.
I got a number of things. Let me follow up on Ms. Brown. Who does our website?
Excuse me. So I didn't necessarily want to just try to answer all her questions. Right now, the plan, so it's a platform that is more dynamic than the other system. It will be updated and it will be changed on a regular basis now because staff has direct interaction with it and populates some of the information on it themselves directly. And so what we were wanting to do is get it up and running. I appreciate the comment on the committees. That's something that we do need to clean up, there's no question. A lot of the other information, Nick will be preparing for a presentation on the 24th to bring it up on the screen and demonstrate the purpose for some of those features. Keep in mind where you want to go is more automated in the future. So ultimately, we're trying to get to a place where our water and utility bills are online, right? So part of the platform is organized so that we integrate into website alerts so that if you are a member, then we can send you the alerts, the appropriate alerts, that kind of thing. So
Or you can pay your bill online.
correct. And so there's more to come. This is a beginning platform. For example, the See ClickFix app. So when you have an account on your ClickFix, you can more easily report issues to Public Works or to the fire department or to whomever. And so there's a purpose to some of those things, and we will make sure that Nick is here when he makes the presentation that tries to address some of those questions, and we appreciate the comments. They're helpful.
So there's nobody in this building that is a website designer.
Correct. We did not design the website in this building.
And content is one thing and presentation is another. And you can't ever take back that first impression, and the amount of people out there that are looking that you don't even know they're looking, they're going to look at that and they're going to make an impression of this community. And I can tell you, because I'm doing my research as well, if you don't have any video on your website, it is not an effective website. It's not a heavy lift financially to get this done right.
Well, it's a little bit to the city. The city has got a utility, and we're very institutional, right? And so the landing platform you're describing, this is a subordinate, ultimately will be a subordinate page to that page that's more enhanced, that's a little bit more inviting to someone wanting to visit. So this is a piece to a plan, and this is the utility, the institutional side of your interaction with the public. So that ultimately we would prefer someone searching for Danville ends up at a more visually aesthetic something, and this is the background. This is where you go to city business. So you see agendas, so you see the ordinances, so you see your utility accounts. And we do want it a little bit flashy, but this is about function. and information flow outward from this organization, right? And so there's different layers to it and different elements to it, and this is a piece of it.
A community landing page is where.
It's what we've tried to describe before, and then from that, then you would want to collect additional data on who's searching for your community. And that's a more, and I showed you one time an example of what that starts to look like, and we can, this is the city page for our operations, right? So it's going to look institutional. It's not, this is not a recruiting tool in and of itself. So we do, though, want it to be eye-pleasing. So we do agree that we have to populate it with better pictures, higher quality pictures, links to our stories that need to all have a quality photograph in them, maybe some videos in them. We agree with that. And so all those are correct ideas and the correct approach, and it's a work in progress, and we will get there over time. for
When
sure.
it comes budget time, I'm gonna make a strong appeal that you budget about $6,000 to hire a professional designer to come in here and make a landing page that reflects this community, the quality of this community, so that somebody looking from Danville, California wants to look at Danville, Kentucky, they come away from there saying, man, they got it happening.
That's right, and so so if we want to dive into that real quick, you have the CVB that has a landing page, you have your economic development group that has a landing page, so you have all those separate pages, and so what we're trying to do is to get our component of that shored up so that ultimately that community landing page catches all those folks. And so part of it is not just spending the $6,000 to design it. Part of it is working with the CVB now that they have a new director. We've got a meeting, we're trying to meet with him this week. Your chamber, for example, we have to work with those agencies to try to figure out how they integrate into that landing page too. And so that's a bigger conversation so that we have one singular community landing page, not four.
And when you say we are talking to the chamber, who's we?
Well, the city, well, myself, I mean, we would like to engage them and try to figure out, I would drag somebody else with me, Josh, for example, and Nick, certainly with our IT, does our website. So, I mean, there's going to be more than one person there, but we need one community landing page, not four. And so we have to figure out what that looks like. And so it's not as easy as just going out and fixing it. There's a strategy to everything, there's a plan to everything, and there's an implementation tact with everything.
You and I talked a lot about leverage, right? Mm-hmm. I think this is a classic case of where you need to leverage your time by hiring somebody that specializes in this and let them go to these organizations and say, we're trying to create this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we would. I'm certainly not going to design it. No, absolutely not.
I'm not saying design, let them go and work all that up together.
Right. Well, we have to have a certain amount of communication, organization, before we send a consultant to do that work for them, right? It's like, so we need to meet with them and have some dialogue about what the goal is, and then we can bring in somebody to navigate that objective.
Along those same lines of communication, newsletter.
We're actively throwing stories out, and we will have some sort of publication out when we get about 8 to 10 stories together. And so we've noticed, for example, have we done a post on the utility one yet? Yeah. So we have stories that are coming, and that we're releasing those over time. And when we get to about 6 or 8, like I said, we'll do news card and we'll do the newsletter concept.
Can you give us a date on that?
We probably have 4 now, so I'd say by the end of January, you would have something out there, at least some hard copy to mail.
And those will also be on the website?
All your stories right now are being
They are
populated
there.
on the website. So if you go to our news feed, I know we added one this past weekend with Parks and Rec.
Yeah, so the stories are on the website, the full stories, and then we also post on Facebook with a link to our new website that have the stories.
And so then at the end of the cycle where we have 8 or 10 stories, we would like to mail out a notification saying, hey, go look at these stories. Here's what the city's been doing. Here's our year end. Here's some numbers, or here's some ideas for you to look at. And so we'll do that as those stories get compiled. And so we're writing the stories, but along the way, rather than writing 10 stories and then doing a newsletter, we're writing stories along the way, and we're providing communication along the way.
They're being put out there electronically, but, you know.
Right, and we'll consolidate those into a single point.
And then what you do is you send a card, because mailing a, several-page newsletter, the cost of that is astronomical.
Right.
So what you do is you consolidate and you give little blurbs about stories, and to read more, you go here and you put the link, or even a QR code that drives you to your website and drives you to, honestly, we want to be able to capture the information of people that visit our site, and then you can study the demographics, and then that's how you kind of go from there. But
I think we have to be mindful that there are folks, mostly the older generation, they don't do Facebook, they don't have a computer. And so I'm going to suggest that in that card where you say if you would like a copy of our newsletter, call City Hall, we'll get it to you.
Yes, sir. Yep.
The Bluebird Market is looking for a new location.
I just asked Earl today, is there no way we can help them?
Let me ask Earl on that. I was thinking about this earlier when we talked about it. Is there not a loading dock at Jenny Rogers?
The EDP, Josh Gooch they're working on some alternatives and investigating that. So when you and I were together today, I asked that question. So I know everyone's aware. So that is being looked at. When you asked me that, I didn't have that answer yet either. So they, it's understood, it's known, there's ideas are forthcoming for them, trying to help. But to answer your question about Jenny Rogers, I don't know. Josh, don't they have a loading dock?
No, there's not a loading dock at Jenny Rogers.
I just wanted to make sure that someone from EDP or the city or someone had reached out to the Bluebird to help them, because that's what economic development is supposed to do.
Correct. We'll follow up with them, and we've already offered support, but we'll follow up.
And I believe they are somewhat on a timeline, because they have some funding that they get for that. So we need to help them as much as we can.
Yeah, there were several good ideas tossed out that I've heard, so hopefully one of them works.
You brought up Hilldale a moment ago. I got a call from the chairperson of the beautification who said, we need a project, give us a project. What I'd like to do is get them jointly with the cemetery committee to take on the beautification of both Hilldale and Bellevue. We have an entrance that needs to be built at Hilldale. I think they'd like to be a part of that conversation. You all okay with that?
That's a great idea.
Okay. I think that's all I have. Nothing else, we'll move into payment of the bills. Chair will entertain a motion for the payment of the bills.
I'll move for approval of the bill list as presented in the amount of $1,175,395.22.
Thank you, Commissioner Terry. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Cottle. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. I'll go on. Item 12 is resolution number 2022-01-10-02. This is the selection of the wayfinding signage. Mr. Morgan.
Yes, we discussed this previously a couple of months ago. I brought a few options forward to you all with the new logo incorporated into it. Out of that meeting, I didn't feel like there was a lot of enthusiasm about the final choice, so I asked the consultant to provide us a few more options that incorporated the version you all were leaning toward is option 1A on the picture that the pictures that you have in your packet. ask them to do a few more options that were similar to that one, but also incorporated some things you discussed you like about the other options that were presented previously. So just wanted to bring this one last time. Final decision. Let's pick one, and then we're going to start putting in signs.
I thought we did this, Josh.
That's what Earl said to me when I said this. When I said I was going to put this on the agenda, I was like, well, I want to make sure. This is a big decision. This is, I don't want to spend a lot of money and put these signs up and not feel really good about it. So I want to give you all one last chance to look at these. As far as we're concerned, option 1A is a good option. I think all 5 are great. I don't think we can go wrong with any of these. So if anything jumps out to you all that any of these others you think are better, we can run with it.
I like 1A and 1C, I like pretty well, but.
I like 1C as
still-
well. That's probably my number 2. Looking at it, we talked about previously putting, if you put Danville down at the bottom, it kind of highlights the destinations more than the city name.
To me, 5B is softer on the eyes. I think it doesn't look like a highway sign because it's got a shape that is representative of a lot of our architecture. You see the Danville, so you know you're in the right community, and then things underneath it. But, beauty's in the eye of the beholder.
Did you say 5A or 5B?
I said 5B.
And I know we're picking today, and that's fine, but like in the future, it'd be really fun to have like the community pick things like this.
Well, I kind of.
Just throwing that out.
I know.
Not
I've
for
thought about
now.
that as well. I know
we
you all
need
went
to
through a
move it
long
along.
process with the master plan.
Yeah.
I know, that's.
Oh,
This is a do-over.
gotcha.
That was kind of my hesitancy. I didn't really know if
It's
we had
all
a good
great choices
opportunity.
left. I mean, this is great.
So remind me, the squares that are across here, those are going to be cut out?
I think I don't think we're going to cut them out. Everybody likes the squares on there. Most people like the squares on there and think they're a good look. But the cutting them out, I don't think so. From a budget standpoint, it's really practical. Also, I'm not. That's hard to know what that's going to look like till they're up. That would be a bold
Yeah.
decision to make at this point. I don't know. It'd be risky. It might be worth it, but it would be risky. So I think they would just be white squares. What you see on here would be what you would get.
To me, they're unnecessary and take up space. It's like an ad. If you know anything about advertising, you don't want a cluttered ad. You want an ad that has lots of space in it. But I'm not an expert on this stuff. I'm an amateur. I know what I know. So
I do-
I'm not even going to vote. I'm just telling you
I
that
do
right
think the squares being white, 'cause I know we had that conversation, the squares being white is a little distracting.
That's
So
what I think.
Really? I think it's attention grabbing.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Just pick one, Josh. I do
Do
like,
you want a motion?
I'm not
or
an
just
expert. I'm just an
general-
engineer. I don't know. I think these are, we can make all these signs. We can put them up. It's just, it is very much, we are kind of down in the weeds with just preference at this point, right? Like it's really just personal
So
preference.
who designed this?
Carmen.
Just go back to John and say, pick what we should have. I mean,
Okay.
it's what you paid him for.
Have you seen them,
I
Hamner?
do.
Has anybody?
Seen what?
You haven't? Oh. I just wondered if anybody else had seen them.
I do kind of like 5B. When we talk about
Oh,
the
yeah.
squares, I do like 5B. I think the curve makes it softer and kind of fits in
Yeah.
a little better.
Well, when I look at them on my screen as all one, without the white dentillation, which is what I would call that, which is your little squares, I think I like the image that is on the sign of 5B. I think the rounded will be a little bit more expensive, but I don't think I have a preference on that personally. I'm just saying from a personal perspective, I would suggest 5B is a cleaner sign. I think the mayor's correct on that.
I think 5B ties into our architecture and what's the
There is
word,
an element
theme, I
of that.
guess?
Yes, that is accurate. The arch windows, for example, at the water plant
Right.
was done for the same
So
reason.
it's
Right.
all gonna kind of,
I'll be quite
tie
honest, I
in.
think, when I brought the options to you all last time, and I think 5A was, or 5B, one of the two was an option. I thought you all would just immediately pick that one, because it's not as modern looking as the other ones, and I thought, because the logo's a little bit modern, I thought, well, maybe the signage needs to lean a little bit less modern, but we didn't. So, I think that's,
I
if 5B
personally
is-
like the contrast between our older architecture and a more updated sign, but, because I don't know, those rounded signs just look tired to me. And
A
would
lot of
get-
people use them now. So you could do 1A with the graphic on 5B, and I think that would be a clean sign. That would also be probably your lowest cost sign.
I think, I like the Danville KY, the little emblem at the top. And that's, other than that, I like it at the top more than at the bottom.
So that narrows it to 1A and 5B.
Yep, those are my two favorite. Which one was less expensive?
I would say do the combination of 1A shape with the graphic of 5B, and that's probably your most affordable, cleanest option. I'm sorry? Good idea. You like that idea the best? So therefore, the.
I think you got an amen on the back.
We
row.
like it.
The peanut
Right,
gallery
Wilma?
approves.
voters. What are they called?
If Wilma approves, we approve.
We should have asked our artists when they were here.
I know.
So that's
So-
what we're doing?
So,
I like
say that
We
again?
will proceed. So we're going to do the square, the rectangular shape without the white square
Okay,
dental.
gotcha.
You're going to do the rectangular shape with the motif of 5B.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well,
We will
can I
proceed.
revise my resolution on the fly then, please? So we don't have to bring this up for consideration in 14 days?
Counselor, you're pushing it, baby.
So the fourth whereas paragraph, where it currently reads, staff recommends approval of option 1A. I'm going to add the language, so it'll now read, staff recommends approval of option 1A less what Earl has now phrased dentation? I believe?
Dentilation. I think.
Dentilation, which I'm not
Dentilation.
sure is a word. but
It's an
we-
architectural term.
We will call it dentilation
It's a
for the
technical
city
engineer
manager.
term.
Remove the white boxes, so it's 1A minus the white boxes.
How you
Engineers
spell
wouldn't
that,
think
Earl?
of that. That's an architect term.
Yeah, right. How you
We'll
spell
get
that,
on
Earl?
architects.
I was thinking 1A dot 5B minus
The bottom
something.
half,
Yeah.
no, yeah. Just go with it, Josh.
So we're going, just FYI, we're proceeding. We're
You
done
do need,
talking
let's
about
please get a motion, let's get a motion and a vote, and then ask Josh Morgan not to bring this before the commission again.
Yes.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Exactly.
Yes.
Don't ever do this again, Josh.
I move for approval of resolution 2022-01-1002.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Okay, I just want clarification of what the devil we're doing here. We're going to do a square sign
Yes, ma'am?
with the lettering of 5B. Or
Yes.
the style of 5B.
Yes.
Correct?
Yep.
Okay.
And if Josh brings us again, we're kicking him out.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item 13 is resolution number 2022-01-03. I'm sorry, -01-10-03. This is a communication shelter bid award. Continue, Mr. Morgan.
Yes, the city put out a request for bids for a communication shelter for the new communication tower going at Central Fire Station. We received one bid on December 16th from Modular Connections in the amount of $46,827. And that there's a capital line item in the budget for $150,000. I believe that's the amount, or approximately $150,000 for communication equipment, and that will be applied to that line item, and we recommend acceptance of that bid.
What
Do I hear a
is this
motion?
exactly, Josh?
So we're putting a new communication tower behind the new central fire station. It will
Right.
replace the existing tower there. And we need to put a communication shelter, little modular buildings that you see next
Oh,
to
yeah,
cell
okay,
towers and
gotcha,
things like that.
gotcha.
Yeah, this is to purchase one of those and have it installed there.
It's
next
kind of
door.
to just
Gotcha.
secure it and, okay.
And Nick Warren with IT, he pretty much wrote the specs that for this bid because it was kind of putting together what he wanted and needed once the tower's in. So he's reviewed this as well, and he's good.
To be totally clear, take a minute. The tower that is behind the existing station across the street, we will have to relocate that tower behind the new station. This building will be behind the new station and shouldn't be visible from the street very much, if at all.
Good,
Bulletproof to a 30-06.
very good. It's good to know.
Did we have a motion and a second on that? I'll
think
take one
so.
and two. Do I hear a motion?
I'll move to approve Resolution 2022-01-1003.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, ma'am. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item 14 is resolution number 2022, excuse me, -01-10-04. This is a fence repair for the airport due to the tornado damage.
Mayor, if I may interrupt you, we presented this, we're trying to be expedient about it. We do not have a confirmation from the insurance company yet on a couple of details, so therefore we would ask you that you wait 2 weeks. We thought we would have it, we don't have it.
Everybody good with that?
Yep.
So moved. Item 15 is a fire department update. Mr. Simpson? Welcome, sir.
I was gonna vote on 5C.
Hey, don't start that. Don't start that.
I move that we fire the chief
Yes.
right now.
Yes.
He just didn't know he's gonna have to follow that.
I just want to thank you guys for a few minutes. I appreciate everything you did for 2021 for us. Thank the citizens of Danville, Boyle County. As far as toy drive went, they really stepped forward and did a great job. We
Great.
had Christmas for 207 children, which is about normal for us. And it's really nice. We got a lot of donations in, and hopefully next year we'll be back to doing something a little bigger. COVID really hit hard, kind of slowed us down a little bit. We're going to get back to it. Just want to thank everybody, thank the citizens, corporations, anybody that gave money to the Danville Toy Program. I appreciate it very much. 2021 was very eventful for us. Everybody know we battled COVID through our staff, through the community. We had 3,195 calls last year, which is a record, the most we've ever done. To give you an example, in 2010, we did 600 calls in 2010, so we've really come a long way. Last year, we did 2,327 calls in 2020.
Jeez.
So 863 increase. A lot of those calls were some COVID calls, a lot of medical. We do about 60% of our medical calls, all the calls. So, but that's really beneficial to the community because we've had some codes today, and we were there first on scene administering critical care to those patients. Hopefully they'll recover, hopefully they'll make it. But if you have a cardiac arrest on East Main Street, Central Fire Station, perfectly located for us to be there first and to make that critical care. So, our staff members do a great job. They're doing a wonderful job. Appreciate the Boyle County EMS for all their help as well. Also had some incident, Boyle County Fire help us as well this year. 2021, appreciate that. Emergency management did a great job. Mike Waller, Miss Mike, did a really good job for us. And he's definitely a community partner with us. We appreciate him. Any questions on responses? Mr. Call, you asked me about a year ago what a good intent call was. I have a better example today. We had a call for a power line down, and when we got there, it was actually just a cable line down. So that's what
Okay.
they would consider a good intent call. Where you're sitting out on a hazardous call that actually turned out to be something very minor. So hopefully that clarifies.
It does. Thank you.
A while back, I gave
Yeah.
a really terrible explanation, if I remember correctly. So I just want to make sure.
I
that
bet it
that's
wasn't,
a lot
but
better.
that's a good one, yeah.
The Danville Fire Department, as far as training went, total training already by staff, 6,881 hours in 2021, which is an enormous amount of training. We have a very professional staff that continuously, always doing continuous education classes. And also, we have 7 instructors that work for the Kentucky Fire Commission. So they go out throughout the state and teach other departments and other other staff. That's kind of unheard of to have that many on one department. You know, we have a small department, we have 7 state certified instructors, which is pretty phenomenal. For an average of 265 hours per firefighter. So that, our goal each year is 200. It's going to be 265 now because our ISO rating suggests 265. The state fire commission only recognizes 100 hours. So that's all we have to do is 100 hours to get our state fire commission incentive. So 265 per firefighter, that's really fantastic. Commercial inspections 138. That's kind of knocked down pretty much by COVID. We're really allowed to go into a lot of businesses and having personal contact. We still have a lot of contacts over there. We'll try to do a few more of those next year. Car seat installation, I'm really surprised. Had 101 car seat installations. That's a high number considering the COVID pandemic. There was a lot of times, last year we didn't do car seat install because we didn't want to put the citizens at risk, having our staff members be involved when they're doing a positive call. That program has really taken off. It's done a great job for the citizens here in the community. 75% of all car seats are not installed correctly. So if you have a car seat, you want to get it checked out, you're just in town, call us up, make an appointment, we'll come out and check the car seat for you, make sure everything's secure. And we go on a lot of accidents where we see the car seats still intact and they're correctly installed, and it really helps the patients out. Public CPR, 72 participants in the class. We offer that last Friday of every month. Anybody wants to do public CPR, we also offer healthcare provider. We do a lot of dentist office, a lot of nurses, CNAs that come up and do our CPR training with us here. Anybody needs it, last Friday of every month. Grants awarded. We have a $23,000 training grant that was awarded. We've already started purchasing equipment for that. We also have a $3,000 Norfolk Southern that was awarded to us. We haven't purchased anything with that yet. We're looking at possibly some training material and a small drone for the hazard material incident we have on the rail. We can also use it to look at roofs and things of that nature during fires. Capital purchase, we have 2 arc monitors with service. They're used every day for cardiac arrest and just running strips or on the EKGs for our citizens. We have 4 members going to the Rosenbauer plant in December. We'll talk about that a little bit. That's going to be an increase on the next agenda item. But they were up there for about a week and they did a great job looking at the new truck. We're really excited about it, but it won't be available here until December of 2022. So we'll hopefully it'll still be on schedule to be brought in December.
Chief, I've never heard of that manufacturer.
Rosenbauer, they're really big up north, and they're really getting big in the United States. We're excited. This is a Rosenbauer Defender truck that we're going to be getting custom. It's a beautiful, beautiful truck. We're having a lot of maintenance issues with some of the people that we have purchased. So we're going to try Rosenbauer. They got a lot of stuff going on. We do a lot of material locally, so that's a good thing. But yeah, as many runs that we're making, our trucks are breaking down on us. So it's just part of doing business. We're trying to get the squad out more, so take a little wear and tear off our engines. Fire station completion, that's probably going to be in April or first of May. Excited about that. Big project. Great for the citizens, great for the community. It's going to be an exciting time for it.
Do we have a date on that?
April 22nd is the major substantial completion date.
And when are we going to have an open house, grand opening? Do we know?
I think that's probably going to be determined at a little bit later date. When we get closer to completion, see how long it's going to take everything to come together. It may take a couple weeks or a month after that to get everything in place. That's when they kind of turn the keys over to us, and it's on us after that to get everything looking good.
Well, I think it's something we want to celebrate. I think as soon as you and staff can comfortably pin down a date, I think we need to begin working on some kind of program format to celebrate that new structure.
I agree, it's going to be pretty awesome.
Yeah.
It's a once in a lifetime event for myself. Probably a lot of people.
I'd say once in a lifetime for these people up here, too.
Doug's planning a community chili cook-off right in the bays for that.
I'd like to.
Only
you
it's
know,
gonna be in May.
In that vein, I'd like to propose that we form a committee to really put together some kind of program that, raises it to the level of celebration that it needs to be. You okay with that? Counselor, you want to serve on that committee?
I think there's very wonderfully duly qualified staff that would do a fantastic job at that, Mayor.
Earl, I think he just hung you out on
Well,
that.
The city clerk's going to take care of that. She's
Oh,
already
there she is.
volunteered. She did that staff meeting last time.
Voluntold.
Douglas, you and I circle up. Anybody on the commission want to, that'd be great.
Yeah, I would love to be on that committee, and I'm guessing you mean, committee of staff to do that,
Well,
to
I
kind of
think
guide
at
that.
some point, but I think we need to collectively figure out what needs to go into this celebration. What does it need?
There's a lot of information. There are a lot of communities that have, open, big projects for new fire stations.
Yeah. Yeah.
We can do it really nice and
Have some guests.
worthy of what it should be worthy of.
And
Oh,
you-
absolutely.
Yeah, you would do more research on that and know more about it than we would.
I've already done some research on it.
Good.
We're looking into it, our staff's looking into it, so,
Good.
we want to be something we're really proud of.
Yeah, we had a model that we used at the water plant that was fairly well received, and so we'll do something similar.
We'll
For
work
those
with
who attended, I don't know,
you. You're chairman though, sir.
Yeah, but this is pretty big. I'd like to have,
Yeah.
some guests from, I don't know, other fire departments or something national. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Big.
Talk real quick about the fireworks. This will be, last year was our last year shooting fireworks. That's one of the things that our staff members who have done, I think, for 20-something years and not been able to go on vacation for July 4th. Mike Long, Deputy Chief, Curdy, just countless others who spent every July 4th shooting fireworks.
Yeah.
Going all the way back to when I first started, I used to do my hands. It was really a dangerous situation. I can't believe no one got seriously injured, but
No big deal, huh?
yeah, I just want to thank those guys for their service, for the dedication. They probably made plans this year, I think we're going to go on vacation with families. So we did have a meeting last week with one of the pyrotechnic vendors, and hopefully that's the direction we're going to go. We're still working on that. I just want to give you guys an update on it. So I want to thank the professional company that'll be doing this year. I think Josh talked about maybe doing something a bit more, or maybe it's on a Monday. July 4th, it's Monday, so everybody have a day off. Come out and celebrate America, celebrate Daniel. Do a lot of fun. Thank you for those people. So, that's really all I have. You may have any questions for me about what's going on in the fire department?
Questions, comments? We'll move on to item 16, which is resolution number 2022-01-10-05, change order number 1 for your new fire truck. Do I hear a motion for the resolution, then we'll get into questions.
So moved.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, sir. Now, sir.
So I said our staff went up to Rosenbauer plant, and they found some indiscrepancies in the original document. Some of the items were not on the truck, so it ended up being about $25,617. So the new contract will be $702,108, and the previous contract was $676,491.
So everything down this list that's in black is what was added, everything in red is what you took off.
And it should be, hopefully this will be the last one that we'll have to do. It's still under budget, but they did find some stuff to clear up there. I think it's just probably talking to Rosenbauer from the original to going up there and seeing exactly what was on the truck and implement it, so.
it's part of the process in big equipment like that's highly customizable. And so really, it's, part of the process for us. And on the utility side, you always go to the manufacturer during manufacture to make those minor adjustments, which is really what this is. It's adjustments, it's customizing the truck to accommodate what our firefighters, our staff prefers.
And it's, the budget was allocated at 750,
That is correct.
and we're still at 702, but we do want to make sure we get it right, and that they get it right. So,
This is gonna be a truck that's gonna last a while.
Yeah.
Probably 15, 20 year truck.
and we'll have room for it at the new fire station.
Pull everything back in, so it's really good.
Any further discussion? Chair will call the question. All in favor of the resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you, sir.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Chief.
that.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. That concludes our agenda items for tonight. Do we have need for an executive session?
We do, we have a need for litigation and personnel.
Do I hear a motion to that effect?
I guess I'm going to do it because Caudle claims he can't read his over here. Is this pending litigation or potential?
Potential.
I will move that we go into executive session. Did you say personnel? To go into executive session to discuss personnel matters pursuant to KRS 618101F. And I'm having an attention problem. Which one did you say? Okay. And also potential litigation pursuant to KRS 618101C.
I would add that this be over in time for me to be in front of the TV at 8 o'clock.
You have 30 minutes.
Okay, all right.
So Commissioner Terry's made a motion. Am I assuming you're making a second?
I am second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, like sign. We are into executive session. Everyone. Terry, is there a second? Commissioner Cottle, thank you. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, like sign. We are in regular session. Mr. Coffey.
Thank you. Staff is recommending the hiring of Caitlin Casada to the position of telecommunication officer.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and
12.
seconded. All in favor,
Nine.
say aye.
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 Opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Thank you. The staff would like to recommend Jessica Gaskin to the position of telecommunication officer.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second? Anyone?
Second.
Thank you, ma'am. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, like sign. Continue, sir.
Staff is recommending that we accept the resignation of Ryan White from the position of a police officer.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Opposed, like sign. Continue, sir.
I don't know that we need a motion yet, but we'll go ahead and ask for it. The staff recommends we accept the future retirement upcoming, and I don't have the precise date, of Johnny Hogue from the water plant operator position. I don't know that you have to do that, but he is announcing it.
Well, we do not accept.
Yeah. We'll come back to that one. I don't
I don't
think
think you have
action
to
on
make
that.
that motion.
No, we don't, no.
Anything else, sir?
No, sir, we appreciate the conversation.
Sure. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I'll move to adjourn.
Thank you, ma'am.
Second.
Second? Thank you, ma'am. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, like sign. We are adjourned.